Oh, there was no audio on YouTube. I fixed it. It's fixed. It's fixed. Probably it's all Asian right here. Yeah, I mean, we got all kinds of Asians because we know we have people from India and Koreans, and I think we have some Japanese as well in the server. Let me put a little bit of music so I can get in the mood. Yeah, how was today, guys? Um, it was pretty rough for my alerts, right? My options portfolio is red today. Um, Even though with that SPX call up for 200%, I still, it wasn't enough for what I put on Pfizer. I kind of oversized a little bit on Pfizer, and then I had to de-risk a little bit, but it's still holding that position that is mostly gonna go to zero. Honestly, that chart doesn't tell me it's gonna go up or anything like that. It's just part of the deal. But my futures account it's up quite a bit today. You know, even with this choppiness, I've managed to pull some good trades in there. You know, like it had a small range, but you could tell where there was possible bounces and possible shorts, possible rejections, and all that. It's just the problem was that none of the moves had continuation. You know, to keep going one direction. Yeah, the favors work. That's why there was a ton of Fibonacci levels that were working intraday, back and forth, back and forth. You know, so you could trade off of that. The problem was like with like doing SPX or SPY is that if you don't catch the exact move where it's gonna go, like you may get chopped out. You know, in Theta decay and whatnot. On what min? What do you mean? On what minute time frame? I mean, any time frame. You know, favors are used on any time frame, but that's about it. But yeah, but it was a good day for futures. If you had your EMAs and your favors, there were a ton. You know, like making a leg down from the open. This is the highs of the day. This is the open. Boom! You short the 618. You get I don't know how many points. Yeah, you tried like I don't know how many times you could short the 50 and the 618 and it still came down. Um, that's what I was doing. And then I mean in hindsight, right? This is hindsight, guys. So you get this push higher. You get some levels, 618 on the bullseye. Boom! You get a leg up, right? Obviously, this is in hindsight. I don't remember if I joined this move. No, I think I did actually. I was trying to fish the bottom of the market because I was looking at this kind of like a drop, a low, a high right here, and then a lower low. But then we made a kind of like an equal high from this area and an equal low, so it was like a inverse head and shoulders, right? Like this, and this kind of got wild right here. So it was supposed to because it was supposed to break out right here, right? Obviously, like it was so choppy that all the moves got negated. Um, but you can still get you know once you see this rejection right here you can still get a fib, you know, from this short the 50%, boom, you could actually go from this short either the 38 to the 50 and boom back down. So like a ton of levels that were working. This is a 10-minute chart, and this is like when something gets choppy, like sometimes the 5 minutes will tell me will be all I use, right? But whenever it gets too choppy on the 5 minute, then I'll move to a 10 minute. And then it gets too choppy, I have to move into the 15 minute, and so on, right? And it's so weird to see a market this with this type of candles in the 15-minute time frame because it just shows how undecided it is, how balanced and choppiness it is. But it was a balanced trading session. If you had quick hands, you know, for If you didn't hope for the moon on your targets, today was a session for you, right? If you respect the stop loss and whatnot. Now, moving forward, I want to touch on the daily a little bit. As per usual, like I usually reset my lines, but I'm gonna keep them like this for now. It's just to keep in mind that we have this major trend line at the highs, and we know that we're bouncing at the 50% retracement from COVID lows to all-time highs at this one, and the highs right here, they actually make a lot of sense. This high that we had on this day on this candle, um, this one right here is basically the we have a gap on the cash session. So this blue lines I have them just in case we start crossing the gaps right below. Remember CPI, this is a hole right here, and this is another hole right here, and this is another hole of trading action that has not happened on the cash session. So we do see futures candles on it crossing it, but I don't know. You just go to the futures right here, take out extended hours, and you know what I'm talking about, right? This void right here, this one right here, and this one right here. So always keep in mind the gaps, right? And in fact, this session did not even reach to that gap right there. It only did it on overnight. So we have to keep in mind that level. Uh, it makes a lot of sense, and it also makes a lot of sense on the on NQ. I'll show you guys right now. Usually I jump on NQ after I analyze CES, but it's worth noting that on the weekly time frame, this fever right here, essentially we top it out the 50% retracement. You know, if you believe this was only a dead cat bounce to keep shorting this level, this was a good entry for sure on the NQs, which subsequently brings the level on SPY, right? Because tech is such a tech and discretionaries are such big sectors, and communications, I'm sorry, are such big sectors on the S&Ps that they'll move the market, right? So if the Qs don't go, SPY won't go, right? So this is basically what I always talk about. The answer is in the Qs. I love that phrase. The answer is in the Qs because you have to analyze this if you want to keep. If you want to keep have some levels on the S, right? Uh, so it's worth noting that now we are putting a balance area right here, basically a small range. The market is cooling off after this big move down. So there's a couple of ways to look at it, right? Um, I think like if you want to look at it on the bullish perspective, having this massive move and not pulling back to test any type of favors, like 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 this, I guess, any type of this levels, then I guess it is bullish, that it actually makes the price pull back in time instead of in price, it makes the S&Ps pull back in time instead of price. I don't know if it makes sense. It's basically the EMAs will catch up if it starts trading on the same channel, and then at some point after they catch up, that's when you have more bigger moves to the upside, right? When you can start moving forward. Instead of pulling back into it, the EMAs catch up into here, right here. So we can have the action right here, moving around this box until we move forward. Now, I think that one of the main targets for the upside has to be this trend line for sure, and see what happens to it when we reach it, right? Always keep it in mind. And another thing to look at this on the bear perspective is that this is basically topping now, kind of placing a little major top right here, or local top. I'm sorry, not major top, local top. So it kind of makes sense if you look at this on the hourly, on the psychological perspective for this move. This thing was rallying up like crazy, right? Like it was just hardly any pullbacks. It was just going, and then suddenly everything sells off right here. So when I look at this, I think there's still a lot of trap positions that we're building into this, that essentially came down into this, and when that happens, is what creates your supply area, right? Because all this is looking, all this area now in the future that is right here, if they held into all this, pain is over, right? I can sell, I can get out of break even or a small loss, right? So all this is gonna be difficult to cross because of what just happened with this candle, right? Like a long liquidation break. Like I don't think everybody that builds right here is able to get out, right, at the same time. The door is so narrow. So there's that, if the if this represents a lot of supply, then obviously this is not gonna hold. And I, statistically speaking, the gaps do not stay on fill for a long time, right? So this has to get filled on the S&Ps, right? Not on any stocks, on the S&Ps for, I don't know, sometime in the future, right? Statistically speaking, I mean, it's just, they're not left like that. Most of the gaps, right? Most of the gaps. Now, I believe the line on the sand is in 3960, as it's seen right here. You're, I saw a tweet, right? You're basically building, you have your left wall, you have your little roof, and then we can start building the house with another wall right here. So this is something that I keep in mind if we have intensive selling, if we do see some very negative ticks, stuff like that into a break of this level, then this is something that we'll look for, right? The touch of the gap first, and then one of the EMAs, a 20 EMA or something, and then obviously one of the favorite levels off of this push right here, right? So those are levels that I'm gonna be watching right here: 32, 50, the 618, gap fill, and the 20 EMA. If we start breaking 3960, if we do end up going forward, then I'll keep it actually very simple. Um, I think acceptance of all these highs, because you see it like an equal high right here, where you can eventually start targeting this high, and then you start traveling into the gap fill, then you aim for the full gap fill, and obviously this trend line, this massive trend line on the daily. One second. All right. So there's that. That's the perspective, on the daily. I think it makes a lot of sense. Right now, on the weekly favors, we traded about the 618. So I think this is very key, right? Because we trade off of the 618s a lot, right? And you can see the rejection of this area. Now the market did trade above it, but I don't consider any candle that doesn't close above their important level, any type of confirmation, right? So this could actually well be the turnaround of the spies, right? Given that there's no closure above it, and there's prime examples of this happening in the past, where you set up like this kind of like a bull trap, right? So I mean, I'm not very well versed on bull traps, but that's what it looks like. Any questions on ES or NQ? I mean, NQ is also very straightforward. Rejection of the 50%. You already have a breach of the trend line right here, and we don't have a breach of the major trend line. Actually, we kind of did at this high, and it ended up being a trap. So we'll be placing this trend line, new trend line right here, and so basically we could aim that, or the 618 or the trend line at the for a push higher. Really hope we dump lower. Yeah, I mean, I think the best edge is to the downside. Um, I'm not leaning any side, because this is basically like being in no man's land. This reminds me a lot of was it in June or July? I'm not swinging puts yet, not yet. I think I should though. Small position though, because this could be fast. Um, I think this kind of action reminds me of this right here. where we build a range. But I think it's a little bit different. We built the range within the EMAs, the 20 EMA. But when you break the range, it's just it was a dumpage, right? It was dump city for like 3 straight days. Some of those days were gaps. So I think that's important to keep in mind, right? That if you're building this and you're failed to go higher, you know, you essentially did what I was talking about, right? Instead of retracing in price, it's basically retracing in time, right? The EMAs catch up, we're still tagging the lows at the EMAs, but there's no break to the upside, right? And boom, back down. So this could very well happen right here. It could happen the other way. It all depends. You have to treat this as a range, right? And actually, I wouldn't count this. I'll count it, but carefully, right? This is the important range, and I'll call this like a part of the range, but like a subcategory, right? Like doesn't matter that much. Meaning that if you break out of it, like it might just go straight up. We'll see what happens. We ended up as an inside days today. That's rare. It happens. Uh, one of the strategies, guys, if you want to keep an eye, is that if you're compressing in price, you want to set an alert about the high and under the low. And obviously trade that way, right? Like if you breach any of those areas, then you're poised to uh, to break that inside candle to the outside. You know. So that's what one of the approaches that we're gonna take on this. It says just break 39.60. I have puts. Hopefully it breaks. Oh yeah. I mean I I'm keeping an eye for the break. Definitely. Definitely. And remember, the answer may be in the queue. So as we see it drop, also keep in mind the NQ levels, which will be the same idea, right? You also have the line on the sand, which is like 11,721 or so. You have your Fibos, you have your EMAs. So you got that going on for you, right? Could be a bounce right here. Could be a bounce right here. Could be short targets right here. This will make a lot of sense right here. If we drop like this, actually, like have a little inside, like a little candle like this, boop. And then if the path is gonna go forward, then you're gonna see some candle like this. Take a screenshot, cause if take a screenshot, cause that may happen. But you get the gist, right? Use the NQs a lot for your analysis. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, right? I don't like to be one of those Elliott wave guys that is looking into like 3 quarters out what the market's gonna do. Oh yeah, and whenever we get to well, take a screenshot of Kami because you may never see it again. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Actually, maybe we had to take a picture of the 3500 because we may never see that in our lives again. Uh, so there's that, and let's see. Let's look at the Dow actually a little bit at the Dow. Um, the Dow is pulling back from being the strongest market, but it's not pulling back that much. It's also hanging at the highs right here. So I think this actually is a little more indicative of what could happen tomorrow because you have the range of this candle way smaller than the other ones, right? So on this one, I mean, keep your alerts, right? Where is the Dow heading, to the highs or to the lows? And keep your alerts on the Dow. Obviously, like this is way different than the S and P's, but it's good indication, right? You'll know what the banks, if the banks will go, if UNH will go, or if I don't know what else in this is, McDonald's, so or Boeing, you know. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's check the Russell real quick. I was looking at all the sectors earlier, actually. Look, this one didn't place a balance area, and it's actually pulling more. But the Russell has a better chance to bounce now that is at some FIVOs like the 38.2 or at the 50%, hitting it with the 20 MA or something, and then bounce, right? That'll be indication to go higher. If it fails the 618, then indication to go lower, obviously. But I'll keep an eye on the small caps because if we end up having a bounce of the 38.2 or at the 50%, then that's where the edge is gonna be at. We'll start playing, I don't know, Beyond, Peloton, PLTR, I don't know, some small good stuff, right? Oh, AMC, GME. Uh, so so yeah, that's funny, Remy. Yes, I am Daddy Vince. I am Daddy. So, all right. Um, let's see. I didn't find. I was looking at the sectors. There's not much to say about them. That we do have a big pullback on the energy, and it's still is yet to fill this gap, right? So the oil names could still be in short just for the time being, right? For a gap fill, for a pullback, for a 20 MA, for some cool down. We got that on watch for the downside as oil futures are pointing down. In fact, I'll check you oil futures right now. So we have a break of a trend line and we're heading lower. We have a break of this low. So oil futures on the daily are looking like it could make more legs down. Uh, that will push back energy, but the energy moves different than oil futures. They do have some kind of a correlation, right? A little bit. I was looking at, I mean, any other sectors, they don't really say much, right? They all look like they had to push high and then they're balancing at the highs, right? But we do see one that is particular has something playing out, which is XLU. This one looks a little bit different. XLU actually is green on the day, is looking very bullish. It has a very bullish hourly candles, you know. It could actually go higher from here, so that's not very bullish for the S&Ps. It is buying pressure because it's part of the S&Ps, but it's considered a defensive move. It's just utilities is not a risk on assets, right? It's risk off. Given that some names inside are looking a little bit bullish, so Nextera is like 16% of the XLU. I'm not sure. It's big. There's no other stock that weights that big on a particular sector, and this one is it'll move the whole sector, right? And it's looking very bullish. It had this breakout of this consolidation, and it could have continuation higher, right? Um, so I'm watching that. It only has monthlies, I believe. We are on a monthly expiration this week. but this is possibly best play to reach this type of area right here, the 87s or so. It's possibly best play on a swing. So this is one of the swing candidates that I have. Nextera NEE for you guys to keep in watch. If I miss the alert or something, I mean the chart looks bullish for continuation higher. Um, I'll definitely will keep an eye on this. Uh, what else? I was looking at healthcare as well. It's inside as well, so we're gonna do alerts as well below, at or above that area, and go from there. Right? We'll start breaking to the upside. This is a big level on healthcare, like 134 or so. I would expect this to explode up if that breaks. If it breaks meaningfully, because if you see, we had a very bullish hammer right here that didn't go anywhere. So that's something. Maybe you can save my Pfizer position, right? So we got that going on, and what else I was gonna tell you guys? Um, any setups that you guys want to send me for me to check out? I'll send it. I'll analyze it right now. This is the time. Post them in chat, and I'll check them out right now. AMD says right here the Coke price is up and down like it's Wall Street home spot. The worst than the Dow Jones. Your brains are now blown all over the brown. One slip, you're gone now. I don't know what this guy is. I don't know what kind of drug is he taking, or the drug that he's taking. But all right. So AMD, very technical rejection of the 50% retracement. It actually opened below this low. It was gonna, guys, it was gonna be my alerts today to short at the open. I decided to stick to some. I actually got stuck in the Pfizer trade because the option chain was not opening until like I don't know how many minutes, and that kind of distracted me from the other setup. But it was a short from the open, and right now the way it looks like it's now that it rejected this 50% retracement, you could actually take those bullish retracements, and I'll go for the weekly. This is possibly I will. You have two ways to anchor right here. All right here, and or you can start off of this candle right here. So we used to haven't seen any meaningful Fibos levels right here, and right here you're very close to a 32. It's still, I don't think it's a buy, and I don't think it's a buy. I will look for a break of this low to continue shorting into like the 50% until the 69.51s. That will be my takeaway from this. The what I just seen on the weekly on the EMAs, like it's very important. Um, a candle close below the 20. There's some rejections in the past. You know, candle close below it. It'll indicate me that there's further downside to come. And if the week ends up red, you know, if the close of the week, like this is a close right now on the weekly, if by Friday we end up like somewhere right here, then next week you will take that break of that low for a 2 up, 2 down strap reversal. You know, something on the weekly time frame that will indicate that this week mark the top of it, and you can start shorting into the way down right here, if it makes sense. All right, Disney. All right, this one looks bearish. No rejection. You've seen this rejection before. You've seen it now, around the daily 20. The last leg down was this. So this is what I'm talking about when we trade above the 618. Like the 618 is always a short entry, right? But sometimes you'll go above it, and if the candle doesn't close above it, you still can count it as a 618 rejection. Especially if it's really what it's trying to do is fill the gap. So I will count it as an extra bearish that it did not manage to fill this and rejected around the 20 MA on the daily. So I'll expect further downside of all this, but I will keep in mind the bullseye perspective of the fifths, which is uh, a possible bounce around this area, 93, 91.72, and then this one right here, which we also have a little gap right here, right? But it does look like a good short into the upcoming days, into one of those levels right here. Is that where you were looking at, Okami, or you had a different idea? Okay. And it's an inside candle. So obviously I was the trigger below the low, right? That we will know. We'll keep it on watch for tomorrow. All right. Any other tickers? I forgot to mention some stuff. Now we don't have tickers. I'm gonna be doing some homework. I actually didn't find any quality setups. I was scouting. I didn't find any quality setups for tomorrow. Nothing that catches my eye right now. Then, hopefully in the morning something changes, right? Something will give me show its hand in the morning. Boeing, Boeing is make extended. I need actually a cleaner chart. I actually have an alert in case it breaks this high. This one's a little rough, man, because it's overextended on the weekly. No matter how you slice it. No matter how you slice it, it's overextended on the weekly, and it can pull back to this areas right here before it continues going higher. But it's a tough short because it's one of those names that was just going up and up and up. It's possible bull flag, but where are you anchoring your bull flag? Like where could you start your at this candle, red candle right here? Could this be? Could this be a like a mini retracement just on the daily before with the first pullback that it had into a 618 and then boom bounce? Could it go like that? Very possible, right? But I just don't like the possibility that the the reality of the weekly is that it can trade with weekly candles, meaning they'll take some times to trade into like something like this, which is also a breakout area right here at 150.26. 150.26 will be a good long, I think, a long opportunity, but I'm hesitant to take a long at that at looking at it like that, extended from the 20, all the stuff. I'm just hesitant because you run into two situations like Goldman Sachs, right? Where like you're unable to go higher, and this thing is actually not even pulling back into a EMA, so kind of like a no man's land. No man's land. Can I split the two up, two down? Yeah. I mean, the two up, two down, basically. Let me find an example, right? Uh, Let me see on this chart. Do I see one? Let me see. Like this one. This is a two down, two up. So you have two candles where the prices come down, and when you break the high of the candle right here, the prices target the top of this candle right here. Right, you have your two down, two up reversal. That's the idea. Um, there's some failures. Like this is a two up, two down, right? This is a two candles that went up like this. you're opening lower. It's better if you open lower than the previous open. But let's say you open right here and you take out this low. This is a failure to go. There was a fail to up to down, because it broke the low. The target would have been this, right? So you have to keep in mind that they don't work 100% of the time. But it's one of the ideas, right? This is a two up, two down reversal, kind of like what happened today with CVS. Uh, it's an inside candle, looking to break the highs, targeting the other highs. Well, they actually got that high. Well, I was aiming for to go higher and it didn't work. Mm. Oh man, I was gonna short Roblox today as well. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? HD. All right, this one's very bullish. I guess we can keep an eye on this for the future. I do have some important levels around 320.66, 320.82. Um, I'm gonna keep an eye on this for any bullish continuation. What was it close, by the way? Whole trading session. Went up, stalling now. Okay, this could have continuation. It has a basically a 4 days of balance, right? Just balancing and breaking out of this balance could send it higher into these levels right here. So we're keeping an eye on Home Depot for tomorrow. Good eye, Kokami, good eye. What do you mean, Sky? Roblox? Yeah, I mean, basically Roblox had already, the trade idea of Roblox is basically today. The previous candle had a rejection of the daily 20 around the 38 to the 50% retracement. So not exactly, right? Um, we you eventually went up in one time framing, so meaning you were making higher lows, basically putting a trend line, right? Like this. And once you break that, when you open below all this, it's downside, you know. All of the action that happened above you was wrong, so it'll sell, you know, all the bullish action. And you'll target like something like this low right here, and then possible this low. Well, it didn't reach any more lows, right? But that one, that would have been the first target to go for. Uh that will swing it to the maybe. I mean, I was doesn't mean that it's gonna happen, but like it still has this push higher. It still can bounce at the 618 right here. You know, so if you start trading below it, like right here, then odds are very high. It doesn't mean that it's gonna do it, but odds are very high that it's gonna go back right here. If it makes sense. All right. Um, I think that's about it. I got my YouTube channel and I'm barely posting videos. I'm gonna start doing like intros and stuff. Actually, let me before I just say goodbye. Something I saw interesting today was a major breakout on TLT. So I think our market's a little bit stuck in the situation where bonds are getting beat up super high. So this is a risk of bonds and utilities getting beat up on the same day is not bullish. It's bearish for the S&Ps. Okay, this is a very kind of fleeing for safety type of what's happening under the hood. You know, so I'm inclined that the market wants to drop. You know, the choppiness is also caused because as bonds are going up, yields are coming down, and you'll see something like the TMX, which I keep right here, bringing some downside. Right, you'll see TNX breaking down. You know, losing all kinds of supports and EMAs and all the stuff. Right, so the market is kind of, you know, like I should be going up because yields are coming down, right? But bonds are getting beat up for some other reason, right? I don't think this move is. I mean, is subsequently large. You know, it's just cannot ignore it, right? It was is a gap up and it still goes on TLT, right? Because bonds. I mean, we have a ton of bond futures, and it just makes sense, right? So I just want to throw that out there. You know, want to throw that out there that this is showing a move into a defensive stuff, right? Not necessarily. So I'm inclined to be bearish on the market right now, especially tech. I mean, not tech actually. Risk on assets. Risk on assets. Uh, so that's all I got for you guys. Before I sign off, like that, like I said, I got that YouTube channel. Subscribe if you can. I'm gonna start putting like a little bit of intros and music and this and that. I may put my camera. I don't know. I got that Twitter right there. You guys know it. Subscribe. And I'll do some homework for you guys tonight. Hopefully, we have a good trading day tomorrow. Hopefully, we're on the right side of the trade. I'm not a YouTuber, but I mean, I got uh, I got it, so just in case. Thank you for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Cubito out. Thank you for coming. Hugs and kisses.